Here is the next topic. Again, this is from friend of FHumpires, Daniel Marsh, who joined in late, but you're here for your topic, so that's the important thing. Asking about the free hit rules within 5 meters of the circle and how to apply them. It's amazing how many players and umpires don't know the rule in its entirety now. Yeah, like the struggle is real. And what I did to prepare for this segment is I started going back through the rule books to see how many changes have been made to just this little area of the rule over the last, decade. So I'm flipping over, I only have PDFs of 2019 and 2017, and then I've got handbooks. I've got the actual like physical fun paper rule books for all the intervening periods. And so, there's been a ton of changes. Like in 2013, we had to bring the ball back to the 5 meter dotted line. And then in 2015, it was flipped back to the way it was in the 2011 rules, where you could take it from anywhere. In 2017, players were allowed to stay within 5 meters of the free hit as long as they were inside the circle when the free hit was taken, unless time had stopped, and then they had to back up. So that was sort of like a codification of a principle that was sort of being applied and interpreted because of the rule that was put in place in 2009 that you couldn't hit directly into the circle. That's how long it's been, by the way, you guys. It's been 11 years since 13.2 got completely hauled over. And in 2019, that was further clarified and codified to say, well, you can stay if it's a quick self pass, but if there is time for the players to move back 5 meters, they have to. So let's just pop over to the guidance here. And yeah, I'm going to do that thing. Okay, I can see it now. So if the guidance for 13.3F as it now is, if the free hit is taken immediately, the defenders who are inside the circle within 5 meters of the free hit may shadow around inside the circle if inside the circle a player who takes the self pass, provided they don't play or attempt to influence play until it has either traveled 5 meters or alternatively been touched by a defending player who can legitimately play the ball. So that would be a defender who starts 5 meters away and then comes into attempt to tackle. If the attacker chooses not to take the free hit immediately, all other players must be 5 meters from the ball before the free hit is taken. Now, the way that I like to teach this as an idea is that I like to compare this to free hits that happen everywhere else on the pitch. Because stunningly, what you'll find is actually there's not a lot of difference with what we do inside that magical dotted line as to what we do everywhere else. If you give a free hitter on the center line and the fouling player is caught within the 5 meter zone, 5 meter, zone, infringement area, and a quick self pass is taken, you allow that play to continue unless the defender who's been caught interferes with that play. The attacker doesn't have to wait, and that's the way you go. But if, say, the ball has rolled away, or you need to move the ball placement to a different area and it takes a little bit of time for that to be set up, what do? You blow your whistle. Hey, that's not 5. Step back. So if you have time to intervene in that situation to get 5 meters, you do, which is exactly what you do around the circle. The only difference is, in a way, that the player who's been caught can shadow inside the circle for 5 meters. But look at it this way. That's because that is a completely irrelevant, non-attractive, non-viable space for that attacker to go into. They can't go into the circle until the ball's traveled 5 meters or been touched by a defender. So it's it's a way of codifying, explicitly defining an area of a pattern of movement, an area of the pitch where interference cannot occur, so that nobody gets it mixed up. If they're straight in front of you for those 5 meters and they're inside the circle, hey, everybody, it doesn't matter, because that isn't taking away a viable option for the attacker. And I think about, it just came out today, actually, in the Hockey World News, an article I wrote a little while back for that magazine, talking about a variety of suggestions that Terry Walsh had about rule changes. But one of them was that he was very concerned about 5-meter infringements, and that players felt that as long as they were going, he said, the rule is that as long as players are going straight back towards the goal, they're allowed to go there, even if they're within 5 meters. And I mean, first of all, no, not a rule, not the rule, not the guidance, not an interpretation. No. If that is the most attractive, most viable option for the attacker on a self-pass, the defender can't interfere and cannot be occupying that space and taking that away. That's the whole point of what an interference or an influencing the play is. You are influencing the play by removing the best line straight towards the goal. Now, that's not always the best line, and that's why it's tricky. That's why we can't codify it, because depending on the direction the players are facing and who's in what spaces and what area of the pitch is this happening in, and is it 2 meters that way or 5 meters that way, and like all these factors come into play. How far away are the other players? It's like there's so many things that come into calculating where an attacker would want to go on a self-pass situation. But what we know is that defender needs to be eliminated in the sense that they cannot change the outcome. So it just so happens in the middle of the pitch, that could be many places. It could be that straight line towards the goal, or it could be a different lane, or whatever. But inside that 5-meter zone, it's just it can't be straight ahead in the circle. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's something. Okay, a few videos just to illustrate, because they're good. It's good to see things. So both of these are actually from the same game. And in this situation, it's a bit marginal as to whether the players had enough time to back off. So, I mean, for me, I would have liked, I think I hear Alicia indicating to the players, hey, back off 5, but it's hard to make it out in the audio. But that might be what she's doing there. And then, but she absolutely gets that right later in the game, probably because she's thinking about the way it happened before. So it's not that free hit. It's this one that happens here. It's just outside. The ball's rolled away. And you can hear her say, oh, and she's being proactive with her voice. She's saying, hey, it's on the edge. New Zealand, back off 5. So she's making it very clear to the players, you have the time to do it. I am making you do it. So it's a bit 50-50, that first scenario, if that is one that there was enough time to get them to back off and maybe some kind of intervention was needed, but it was absolutely done.
Coming from Rushmere, and Australia break forward. Good running through the middle. Wants to release the pass. There was nobody really there until Hazel came and spun. And then
here's a similar situation.
Just outside. The ball played away as Australia were trying to get on with that. No card issued, yet it did break up play. Hazel again.
The reason that ball got knocked away is And a different issue, another discussion. But we're going to leave it. We're not going to talk about that. Okay. But what I don't like is that there was enough time here for the players to be backed off. And it's so important to get in early, because if you're not getting in early, eventually the ball is going to be taken on the self pass, and then you are the gotcha umpire in that case. And that's not what you want. The last point I want to make on this, and I talk about this often because I'm trying to think of the logic, the reasoning behind these things, and what we're trying to get to is a pattern of play or an understanding of those free hits that as defenders you want to get 5 meters away from the ball. I'm a defender. I'm a sweeper. And ever since the self pass came into effect, and through the last decade of all these iterations of free hits just outside the circle, I have never wavered in my belief as a player that the best thing I can do, no matter what, is still to try to back off no matter what happens. Because if I've committed to backpedaling, moving away in whatever respect, and I do happen to get 5 meters away, that means as soon as that player touches the ball, I can go chomp him. I can attempt a dispossession in a tackle. I can go put on pressure instead of having to wait for that player to go 5 meters. That is a luxury. That is to be able to just dribble around and take a look and say, oh, like, what am I going to do with this ball now? That's time and space I don't want to give to an attacker. I want them to be under pressure as soon as possible, and the only way I can achieve that as a defender is by backing off. So I always do that. Always. This whole hanging about, within 3 meters because you think you're so big and scary, it's dumb. So what these rules are trying to achieve is that encouragement that, you know what, guys, guess what? If you have time to move back, you get to move back. So why not try to move back? There's a real disconnect there in the understanding of how the rule works, because it hasn't, because of the way it's been implemented piecemeal and without really, I mean, maybe it's hindsight. Let's be fair here. So hindsight is that we now know that this is what the effect of the self pass is right around the circle. But now that we know it, why is it so hard for top players and top coaches to understand that this might be a more productive way to play? Throwing it out there. That's my thing. Okay. Woo, we got some really long ones here. Inga's got something long. Let's see what's happening here. Okay. Has anybody else lost sound? Okay. I hope not. It looks like it's okay on my end. So let me know if everybody else is okay. Okay, everybody else has got sound. Okay. Inga, let's see. That daft example is similar to a player on my team. Got a free close to the halfway line, took it really quickly as the offending player was still about a meter from the ball. Offending player steps back and creates a space rather than closing it, and my player looks up at me and wants the free. I think I managed to quiz the look and then start laughing. Dude, you've got all the space you need. Dude, I love how you say dude. Because the other player is acutely aware of what can happen. Get on with it. Absolutely. Right? There's a technical infringement, but what does it mean in the game? What do you see? Can you imagine trying to write down a rule, trying to use English words that make sense to most of the people who read them to explain all that? I can't even explain it, orally talking to you guys. It's complicated. But that's why we love this game so much, and why we love umpiring it, is because it's so complicated and interesting and nuanced and fun, and that challenge is what just keeps us coming back for more every week. Okay. Laurent, en français, Laurent. You had one in the first match of the season in one of the first minutes of the game, waiting at the ball until A is there, backing up 3 meters while A hits it and stepping in again. He was really, really surprised I showed him the green card immediately. Yeah, I love it. Okay, let me know if that explanation helps you and gives you the tools you need when you're going into your game to get this call right, and get that management right. Every free hit has should trigger a step-by-step, milliseconds, but a step-by-step course of action that you take in order to make sure things happen properly. And the game unfolds the way that it should, with skill and without you having to blow your whistle and be a jerk all the time. And part of that is the first thing that you identify as you're blowing the whistle is, where did the foul occur? Therefore, where does the ball need to be? Taking a proactive step where that is, and then calculating where can the defenders be, and if they are not there when the ball is taken, what am I going to do about it? So all of those steps all need to happen in your brain. If you're not focusing on, first of all, the ball placement, it doesn't mean that you're intervening and moving the ball somewhere, but you're aware and you know what you want. You know what you want to see and what's fair for the teams. And if that isn't happening, you're taking a proactive step as best you can. And then the next step is proactively assessing and communicating what you see about where the defenders are. So if that's in the middle of the field, it's like, hey, you're not 5 yet. Or if the self pass is already gone, you're saying, not yet, not yet. Okay, that's 5. And that kind of thing. That's not coaching. That's not coaching. That's encouraging flow. And that same process happens around the circle. Absolutely. So if you go through each step, and that is your habit, that is your thought pattern, you'll be able to deal with these situations, without even thinking about it. And then the next step in the management, the next step in intervention, as Laurent said, pulling out the green card, it comes easily because you're not consciously thinking about processing these things. You're doing it by mental habit. You've got the neural pathways greased. It's where your brain's going already. All right, Goddard's has a tip. I love Goddard's tips. When blowing, look beyond the offender at the other defender's distance. If they are okay, you only have to worry about the offender interfering. Absolutely. So this brings into play more than just the fouling player, but assessing. So if you've got the ball placement and then you look for where the 5 meters is, and it's like, that person's okay, that person's okay, that person is not. So 7's good, 9's good, but 14, they're caught. So having that immediately in your brain and assessing that helps you as soon as that self pass goes, because if 14 steps in, you're throwing the card. If 7 or 9 step in, you're yelling, play on, they were 5, instead of having to react to the visual stimulus of seeing a whole bunch of bodies come together really quickly. Because that's when we get it wrong. Here is a question. Sirkanth, I hope I said that somewhat correctly. Does the 5 meter rule apply to all players during sidelines within the 23? I think what you mean by during sidelines, I think what you mean is for free hits on the sideline. And do the 5 meter rules apply to all of the players in that situation? Yes. So attackers have to be 5, defenders have to be 5. Okay, if I didn't get that right, if I didn't answer what you intended, let me know again. Okay, I'll keep an eye out in this chat here. Inga, in my case, the player taking the ball wanted to force the offender to make that next mistake. So I really had to control my facial expression. Yeah, it's kind of like the manufactured foul, right? And when you see a player deviate from what the very clearly best option is, and they literally like turn around, turn their back to the goal, and start dribbling straight at somebody who's 5 meters away, there is no disadvantage there. You don't have to make a call. And that's exactly what you express. You say, no disadvantage, no foul, play on. Keep going. Nothing there. And it takes a little bit of ovaries, but you can do it. You can do it. And as long as you're communicative, that is a great way to stomp out that kind of nonsense in the future. And that's why the manufactured foul rule got taken out of the rule book. It's because we already had the tools. We already had no disadvantage, no benefit gained, therefore it isn't a foul, and we had danger. So if the manner in which a player is trying to produce the foul is dangerous, like they're hitting the ball straight at somebody from close range, that's just dangerous. And you just call it the other way. Easy. Easy. Simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Daniel, you had an annoying one the other week. You gave away a free hit right on the edge of the D. The ball bounced away. I backed 5 meters. They took it from the 5-meter marker instead, hit my foot when the ball came in the D as I was out of position. PC Kevin wasn't impressed. Yeah. And that's why ball placement around the circle that's when you get picky about it. Because what the defenders are doing, every defender is going to do something different. And they're subtle differences, but they matter as to how they are going to defend that play. Whereas out in the middle of the pitch, it doesn't matter because defenders aren't going to change very much as to what they're trying to do. Sideline hits, yes. Okay, thanks, Srikanth. So I hope I made that clear enough for you there. So, Laurent, Laurent, I think it was clear enough into some rough play in quarter 3 and 4. We didn't need any cards. Yeah. So, I mean, this is the beauty of it, is that when you are intervening and you're being proactive early and you take the steps that you need to early in the game and you let the players know what you're expecting, when they need to back off, when you consider that to be enough time, when they don't, what attractive spaces are, when you are going to consider disadvantage actually occurring, all these things, when you communicate about them early, later on in the game, you don't even have to talk about it because the players are going to appreciate how much better they can play within the standards that you set. They don't have to guess anymore. They know where the lines are. And they're going to paint within them, not because they're obedient and you've vanquished their spirits. They are going to do that because they know they get better hockey out of it. They get a better chance to score. And when they paint outside those lines, it's because they need to. And they're making a deliberate choice to break down the play. And then the cards are easy. And they're not personal. They're like, you jerk. Rah! No, it's just like, nah, you know what you did. Because the standards have been clear. And when games unfold like that for you, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's fun. All right. Any other questions? Anything else I can ramble on about for you? I don't think Stefan's here because he hasn't mentioned once. And I have 7 minutes left. Even my partner Corey is like, so it's going to be an hour and 15 today? He says, okay, I'll give you an hour 30. Roger, channeling a free hit, starting within 5, although not interfering, they track closely, then tackle at the traveled 5-meter point. Right. So this is a nuance to what constitutes influencing the play or interfering with the play. If that channeling, and so I don't like using the word channeling because channeling could just be running alongside, taking nothing interesting away whatsoever. Channeling could also be very specifically taking away the most attractive passing lane to somebody who's open in the circle. So I don't like the word because we don't have a common consensus what that means, but we do know what interference means because it's actually a word that's used in the rule. So what you're determining is it interfering or influencing something good that could happen? And it's understanding the consequences rather than just looking, oh, that player is shoulder to shoulder, therefore they are breaching 5 meters. That's the black and white way of looking at it, and that just is dumb, and it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. It makes players mad. What we're looking for is something that gets taken away, and sometimes it can be, our hockey brains have to be turned on. We have to be able to read and anticipate the play and know what the players are trying to achieve. And that means that we're looking for who's open. What's the direct line to the goal? Is the direct line to the goal a good line to the goal? Maybe it's not because there's a million other players in the way. And maybe the best line is going out this way or going out the other way. Looking at where the passes are. Looking at whether that lane, if it's dribbled into with the self pass, if that then opens up an opportunity for a passing lane that could be lucrative. These are all the calculations that we're going to make. We're playing the game in our heads with them. If you all watch Queen's Gambit, and I'm sure you did, and if you haven't, you're going to on Netflix because it's really, really good. It's like playing the chess game in your head without the tranquilizers and without the ceiling. But you are moving the pieces and seeing what's going to happen, and then moving them back and doing what you need to do to make sure that the pieces could possibly be moved in that way. It's like opposite chess. That could be the best thing I've thought of all day. Or it could be garbage. I'll get back to you on that one. Yep. Godders. We're twinsies. We're brain twinsies. And understanding the intent of the player. And knowing what they're doing. And why they're doing what they're doing. Love it. Okay. I think we're there. It is 12:56 and it's a official FHumpires world record. 56 minutes. I'm very excited for myself.